up? Let's see if this angle works a little better. Hold on. Not really, but it's all right. We are here. We'll do it live. Hey, I already have one person watching. Here's the good luck. Kamala. Sorry about that. I picked my nail last night. Kamala. Just thought I would do my take on the LA Kings and big trade. Big trade. Hold on, let's let the people know we're going live. Let's let them know. So I had to do a little cross promoting. So if you've been living under a rock the last, let's get the full Earl sign in. I did pay $492 for this. So if you've been living under a rock for the last couple days, the Los Angeles Kings have made a big trade. What up, William Zoom, my number one fan in the house. They have acquired enigmatic center, but quite talented, Pierre Luc Dubois. And in exchange, they sent to the lovely Great White North of Winnipeg Gabriel Velarde, a first-round pick they have spent 5 years in developing. And, his back was so bad at one point that I think they thought he was going to have to retire. And he really broke out last year, 23 goals. And, unfortunately, his injury problems kind of resurfaced, and he was unavailable for much of the playoffs, which is too bad, because if this guy could ever get healthy, I got to be honest with you, I don't know how much better Dubois is better. They might be dead even. Also going to Winnipeg was a personal friend and Comedy Store favorite son, the great number 19, Alex Iafallo. Great utility player. Can play on the first line, can play on the fourth line, can kill penalties, can play on the power play. He's fast, good hands, good defensively. So he's the hidden gem, I think, in the Winnipeg equation. And then also Rasmus Kupari, first round pick. Fourth line center for the Kings anyway. And, fully recovered from his ACL surgery. He looked as fast as ever, which was kind of surprising because I've had that surgery, and obviously I'm not comparing myself at 54 to Rasmus Kupari, who I think is 22. But it's impressive that he looked as fast as he does. His ceiling is in question. Has he tapped out? Is he just a really good fourth line center? Or can he elevate to a third line center? He is capable of playing at wing. He's a big kid, so with that speed and size, be nice to have that on the boards. He's not overly physical, but he's a keeper. and also a second round pick. Now, I heard through my mole in the Kings organization, because a lot of King fans were like, well, why'd you throw in the second round pick? It seems like we gave them quite enough for Dubois. And apparently Montreal was circling back into the conversation. Now, maybe they were, maybe they weren't, but they probably told the Kings, hey, you might need to throw in a little something extra because Montreal's coming back. Stuff like that. It's poker, so it's quite a lot for this kid, Dubois. My biggest concern is he's 25 years old. He's already played his way out of 2 NHL cities. And I think his last shift in Columbus, now you could argue it's just one shift. And certainly we're not judging someone on one shift. But when he just totally gave up and was like, fuck it, I'm out. Not exactly the best impression. And then, he made it very well known that he was not going to want to stick around for Winnipeg. But he was pretty vocal about it. So you kind of hampered the trade value. And you got to figure, being a French Canadian kid, he probably wanted to go to Montreal. So the Kings signed him. It was a sign and trade deal. I think Dubois is a locker room. I hope it doesn't ruin what LA has been building for years. Well, yeah, that's just what I'm talking about, I like to play devil's advocate, as you know. And, I will say that Tortorella, who was his coach in Columbus, he's made a lot of players want to leave a city. And then, it's not like Rick Bowness is known as a lovey-dovey players coach either. But, it's not like Todd McClellan is known as like a guy the players want to go have a beer with after. So I don't know if McClellan and Dubois are a good fit, but we'll see. We got him for the next 8 years. Now, I don't have a problem with the terms of the contract. Because I think people are freaking out. 8 years, $8.5 million, wowzers. But, the cap is rumored to be going up the next few years, maybe as much as $90 million. I even saw one that projected it in 3 years, it will be close to $100 million. Now, that's just pure conjecture. I really do like this sign. Did I mention I paid $492 for it? This YouTube live stream is costing me money. Just trying to get my 4,000 hours. So I think the contract will actually age well if you map out his planned production. Well, it is if he produces. Because, that's the number one question I'm getting. Who do you think won the trade? And it's tough because I can't answer that right now. I think you can answer that question in 2 years because you have to see the results. From the Kings' perspective, right now, they arguably, hello, Mr. Blonde, 007, they probably got the best player in the trade. Although I would argue if Velarde is healthy, they're pretty even. But he's never really been healthy. So, and that definitely hurt them in the playoffs. They really missed him. And it's not his fault he gets hurt. Some guys, my favorite player of all time is Barry Beck, as everyone knows if you are familiar with my hockey background. And Barry Beck was hurt since juniors, from Westminster to his last season on the LA Kings. which I was very excited about when we initially got him. But, Velarde just may be that guy who his ceiling will be 60 games a year. Dubois has been fairly healthy. So when you analyze, well, who won the trade? I want an answer right now. I can't give you one. Right now, I would say both teams won the trade. They both got what they wanted. The Kings got probably the heir apparent to Kopitar leaving. I mean, Kopitar can't play forever. And, I think it's a good insurance policy in case Byfield does not pan out. I mean, I think Byfield was drafted to be Kopitar's heir apparent. And, right now, the Wolves are out in terms of that projection. So I guess you'd say, if you put a gun to my head right now, you'd give a slight edge to the Kings because they got technically the best player. And if 2 years from now the Kings win the Stanley Cup, they get to the Western Conference Finals, they lose in the Stanley Cup Finals, and Winnipeg's just kind of floundering, then you could say the Kings won the trade. On the Winnipeg side of things, there's a lot of what ifs. What if Velarde can stay healthy? He has top 5 hands in the league. I'm not saying he's a top 5 player in the league. I'm just saying his hands are in the league hierarchy. Well, I don't know if they could have gone after Hellebuck. I mean, yes. I mean, now we'll get to that in a second, but there's going to be a situation in goal because they are cash strapped now. But so if Velarde is healthy, I don't know how to spell it either, bro. And is producing at the rate of Dubois. Iafallo is going to produce. He'll get his 15 to 20 goals, probably 45 points. He'll have a good plus minus. He's fast. He'll be a good, because he's in his prime right now. So I don't know if he'd be a mentor of sorts, but, he's a guy who's been around and he's played every position, from first line to fourth line, penalty kill to power play. And he's a puck pursuer. So I think he's the most consistent part of the deal from Winnipeg. He will not have a bad season. And then what if Kupari can elevate, into like a younger version of Trevor Lewis, fast, not overly physical, but won't take any shit either. Or does he not do much? Does he just kind of stay a fourth line center? And then, of course, the second round pick. Who knows? May never play in the league again. But there's a lot of good players who come out of the second round who have lifelong careers. So that's why I say you can't really judge the trade right now. There's just too many moving parts. And, it's going to be interesting now because, like I said, the Kings' work is not done. Tomorrow morning is the free agency opening, and I don't see the Kings being active. I mean, here are the Kings' lines on paper in terms of if the season started tonight. You have a first line of Kopitar, Kempe, and Byfield. You have a second line of Arvidsson, Deneau, Moore. You have a third line of Kaliev, Fiala, and Dubois. And, the fourth line is somewhat in flux. I'm excited because being up against the cap, now you get to see some of these kids on low contracts. That's why you drafted them. So The fourth line, I would guess right now would be Lazat, Grunstrom, and could be Fagimo, could be Alex Turcotte, Zach McEwen if he's brought back, or a very low level free agent. Because if you look at this team overall, they're not soft, but I do think they need a physical presence. So those would be the four lines. And it's no guarantee they'll bring McEwen back. He didn't really show a lot when he was here. Um, he had that one game against Edmonton at home where he had a really nice check and was roughing it up a little bit. But he was also coming back from a broken jaw, I believe, from a fight with Tom Wilson. So maybe it's fully healed, and I can only imagine your desire to drop the gloves is pretty low if you're recovering from a broken jaw. So, and Jared Anderson Dolan, he's another kid who, he's a waiver, he's no longer waiver exempt, so he has to be on the roster. And then you have long shots like Chromiak, who probably needs more seasoning. Simon Tyval, the Finnish kid, I really like, but he's probably at least a year away. So with that group of forwards, it's not a soft group. Like they will stick up for each other. But the problem I saw last year, and I'm going to include some players who are no longer on the team. I don't want Kempe involved in scrums. I don't want Fiala involved in scrums. I didn't want Dursey involved in scrums. That takes away from, they got to be on the ice for us, especially this season where we have a great roster, but we can't afford to lose guys. And because we're kind of up against the cap, there are going to be some games where we're going to carry 21 players on the game day roster. So, if you look at the defense, it's pretty set now with Doughty and Anderson, Roy and Gavrikov, and then the final pairing, that's up for debate. There's a couple guys who could be that third pairing, Clark, Spence, who's NHL ready, but they just had no room for him. And, then, there's Movari. There's, do you bring back an Alex Edler, which I would be okay with. He didn't really get burned too much. You didn't really notice him. And he had a few goals. So I'd be okay with Edler coming back as like the seventh/utility defenseman. I mean, you can't have Spence and Clark out there together, two right-handed defensemen. So you're going to need to bring in a left-handed defenseman. And of course, I want Radko Gudas, but you can't afford him. I mean, right now the Kings don't have a backup goalie, and they've only got about, I think, $1.5 million to spare. They do have Eric Portillo, who I think they got from Buffalo, but he's not an NHL goalie right now. So at least that we know of. So it's Phoenix Copley and to be determined. Now, if you look at the goalies who kind of come in at that price range, you've got Anderson, Ranta, Talbot, Varlamov. You're going to basically get a guy who wants to prove himself, which, you're going to basically have to hope that you get another Copley. Copley came in, okay, everyone thinks I'm too old and I'm done, and he played great. I mean, he's not a sexy goalie, he 30, what is he, 30 or 31, and, usually most guys don't peak at that age, and that, he kind of flamed out in Washington, but then I think he led the league in wins from, where did he come in, late November to the end of the season? So, that's Going to be interesting. Anderson's got some injury problems. Ranta, I wouldn't mind him. Uh, Talbot, probably wants to say, hey, I still got some gas in the tank for Larimov too. Of course, there's a trade option, I guess. A lot of people throw Arvidsson's name in the trade mix just because he makes a fair amount. So if you get his contract off the books, you could get that maybe second level of goaltender, that is ahead of those groups. And, who knows, once everyone signs and whatnot, there will be a good goalie that is available on the cheap. No, it's not going to be like a Jack Campbell type, but, so the Kings still have some work to do. I mean, because in my opinion, their biggest problem against Edmonton the last two seasons is they got bullied. The first playoff series against Edmonton last year, it was like the triple-headed monster of, Cassian, Nurse, and Kane, and just running King guys, smaller guys, and really having no fear. I mean, you could tell. And we had, I almost said Brendan Lemieux to kind of counter that. But even with Brendan Lemieux in the lineup, who I do think we missed, but I understand that, there might have been some problems with him that, you just couldn't have him on the team anymore. The Oilers still bullied us. And, this season, I think the same problem. The Kings got bullied. And once again, I don't think the Kings are a soft team, but, I do think that the Oilers took full advantage of the lack of sandpaper. Because, guys like Gavrikov and Roy, they're big guys, and, Roy especially seems to enjoy the physical game, but I don't want these guys playing overly physical, because I think it distracts from what, they should be doing. So, in terms of sandpaper, I mean, you could dumpster dive and, speaking of Cassian, Arizona just bought him out. If you don't bring McEwen back, maybe you bring Cassian in on a 1-year deal and say, hey, man, protect the kids and do what you did against us 2 seasons ago. So that, it's going to be an interesting, scenario where, the Kings, they got some work to do. I like Rob Blake, though. I like how he takes big swings. And hopefully the Kings figure out, well, here's the problem, and I have a mole deep into the league that said the Kings would kick tires on Tom Wilson. You can't afford him. You only have, I think, I'm probably wrong on the amount, but you've only got, I think, about $2 million left. So you got to get a goalie for 1.5, if not lower. So you have some wiggle room. So Tom Wilson would be the ideal player for the Kings. But, the only guy I could see because he's on he has 1 year left, is maybe Arvidsson. But Washington is not going to want Arvidsson for 1 year. They'll probably just keep Wilson. But he is the perfect solution to the Kings' lack of sandpaper. I mean, can you imagine, throwing him on the first line, and maybe you put Byfield on a line with Dubois and Kaliev, and you have a first line of Kempe, Kopitar, and Wilson, where Tom Wilson would tell Kempe and Kopitar, hey, you guys do your thing. I'll make sure you have the space to do it. Hello, I'm glad you're in a jacuzzi. Wish I was with you. I won't be creepy. Probably too late. I'm not often thrown in live streams, but last night I was doing I think a TikTok live. Of course I know who it is. And some guys just say, "Hey, how do I send you money?" I'm like, "Well, let me do something first." Like, I don't know. Speaking of following and sending daddy man money, I'm, as you guys know, Earl Skakel everywhere. I know it's Trisha. I'd sit in a jacuzzi with you. Um, I'm Earl Skakel everywhere. YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Patreon, um, and really trying to increase my online presence. So thank you for the support. If you could share and retweet and all that good stuff, like, and it helps the algorithm. It's all a scam, So it'll be interesting tomorrow to see who does what. And by the way, a quick shout out to the both teams, Florida Panthers and the Vegas Golden Knights. I didn't really do a Stanley Cup Finals recap, but great series. I really thought Florida would win, but Vegas is pretty good. I mean, Vegas is, if you want to know what the Kings are going to look like, I think Vegas is a great example of what our future will look like in the Kings. Great roster, but you better hope there's no injuries. Because, let's say Kopitar, Dubois, Deneau, Lizotte, Byfield. Well, we'll just stick with the four main centers. Let's say, knock on wood, Dubois gets hurt. Now, you could say, well, you put Byfield in his place, but I don't know if he's ready right now. I don't know if Lizotte. I mean, he did play well on the third line, but he's probably more suited to the fourth line. And then, if you look at Ontario, you've got Akil Thomas as a center, but I don't know if he's an NHL center at the moment. You've got, I think, Tyler Madden, who I don't know if they're bringing him back. You've got Anderson Dolan, who, he can't go down to Ontario unless, he passes through waivers, which he probably wouldn't. So the Kings are going to have a skeleton roster, which is a great roster, but they have to be very hopeful that no major injuries happen, because you're going to have to replace them with league minimum contracts. But I'm excited to see Fagemo. I like him. I'm also excited to see Kaliev play on the third line in a hopefully more offensive role. I mean, I think there'll be a lot of ice that's opened up for him with Fiala and Dubois. I mean, there's no excuses now. He could probably sit there and go, well, I'm on a line with Grunstrom, who's a plugger, and, Kapari's not very offensively oriented. You're not going to have that excuse anymore. You're with one of the best wingers in the game right now, who was on his way to a career year. And you've got an amazing two-way center if he puts it all together and just keeps his head down and there's no drama. And, I'll be honest, I didn't realize how physical he was. So I do think that, if he can stay healthy and motivated, and I know he wants to win, I just feel bad for Winnipeg, because it doesn't really seem like anyone wants to stay there long term. They're gonna, grow all these players, and then they're gonna want to leave at some point. I've been to Winnipeg. Let's just say it's not Los Angeles. Great city, and Velarde kind of took a shot at the LA fans, saying, "Well, they're there, but playing in Canada is much better." And he's not really that far off. I mean, Los Angeles will never be a hockey city the likes of Montreal or Toronto, or Edmonton, but I do think it's a great place to play because you can make a lot of money. Now, the taxes are what they are out here, but I can't wait to Dubois sees his first homeless encampment. We didn't see that in Winnipeg, but I do think he'll win here. I mean, he wants to win, and Winnipeg's not bad. They just, that's the team I'm very curious to see how they pan out, because that end of season press conference that their coach gave, basically saying the whole roster tanked on them. Uh, he burned some bridges in that locker room. I don't know how you bring the coach back, to be honest with you. But you can bring him back when I think it's rumored that they're going to buy out Wheeler, and they're bringing in a lot of new meat that doesn't have the stain of that press conference, with Velarde, Kapari, and Iafallo. And they do have some good young players. Obviously, Josh Morrissey is there. But, it's going to be interesting to see how they respond to that coach. And, Hellebuck wants out now. And the whole league knows it. You could get a nice return for him, but not quite as nice now, because the whole league knows he wants out. And that's the... Oh, they did. I thought they bought out Wheeler. I think they bought him out today, I think. So, somewhat breaking news. And, you hear rumors about him being kind of bad in the locker room, which is too bad. There's rumors of some kind of shift in a beef with Laine, which is why Laine wanted out of Winnipeg. I mean, if you think of the players that Winnipeg has lost the last couple of years, Laine, Bufflin. I thought MLC was on 2:00 on Fridays. What time is it? Sorry, 1:41. I thought they were on it too. I'm almost going to end this. I don't think Kevin or Chad or Levy or Carl or whoever are going to mind these 6 people I'm stealing from them to do a hockey stream. And if they do, get over it. 7 people now. So, hi, Chad's lawyer. It's for you followers of the podcast wars. So that's probably about it. Of course, the draft went, not many surprises. Skakel for life. Thank you. Bedard went first overall. I think the biggest shock was the Ducks pick, which gave Columbus a nice little surprise. This was a great draft, especially the first round, which means, the second round, you're going to have some first round talent. Kings had, I think, 5 picks. They had some interesting selections, a lot of projects. They got the big Slovak defenseman. He's a teenager, and he's 6'5", 210 already. So that's a kid to watch out for. And I think one of the kids, I think his name starts with a K. Sorry, I'll try and find his name real fast. Skating is a little rough, but he's kind of an agitator, big hitter, heavy wrist shot. I'm getting a text from someone watching. I don't know why they just wouldn't say this on the stream, but what about Korpisalo? I liked Korpisalo, but he was not the reason the Kings lost in the playoffs. He played very good. Did he play great? No, but he played good. What do you think of the Habs trade for Newhook for the first and second? I mean, I think Newhook was probably plan B. I think they wanted Dubois, but the Kings, just had a little more to give. So the Dubois trade for the Kings was great asset management. I mean, you can't have all these kids. The Kings actually have too many prospects, especially at center. So, you trade 2 centers. Now, Velarde is center and left wing, but I think he'll play his natural position of center now in Winnipeg. So I just don't think Montreal had the draft capital the Kings do. I mean, I think I said last year, these are the centers. Now, this is last year. Some of these guys aren't going to be brought back, but last year the Kings had I think they had like 7 centers on the NHL roster. You had obviously Kopitar, Deneau, Byfield, Lazat, Kapari's a natural center, so that's 5. You had Anderson Dolan, who was basically on the roster most of the second half of the season. Velarde, so that's 7 centers. Lazat, and really Kempe could play center in a pinch. So and plus in the minors in Ontario, you had now. I don't think Madden's being brought back, but or Dudas. I'm not sure there, but I'm talking last year. You had in the minors Turcotte, Madden, Dudas, Tynan, and I think one other guy whose name is escaping me. So they definitely you traded 2 centers to get Dubois and Velarde and Kapari. You traded from a position of strength, and that's how you do it. I mean, the Kings have they probably needed to restock a little bit because they have made some big swings. They've traded their last 2 number 1 picks. Their second round pick went in the Dubois trade. So they still got 5 players, most of them projects, including a goalie in high school. So I'm okay with that. They'll probably, I don't imagine them trading their number 1 pick again, but you never know. I mean, it depends. Now I think, especially in free agency, you are going to kind of compete with the Joneses. So if you see Edmonton go out and get another rugged forward, the Kings are probably going to, well, maybe we'll do a look-see on Cassian, or maybe we could trade, and I'm not trying to start any wacky rumors, but, maybe we could trade Arvidsson and maybe another player on the roster and make a run at Wilson if Washington wants to move on. So, speaking of Washington, I think that was the only really shocker of the draft that they didn't get the Russian kid. I think Philly, and I could see this as a total Tortorella move. He probably didn't even want the Russian kid, who probably is the second best player in the draft, but he can't come over here for 3 years, allegedly. But people thought if he went to Washington, Ovechkin could pull some strings. So, Philly, Philly's going to be bad for at least another season or 2. So I like the move. I mean, I thought it was a mistake to hire Tortorella because I knew he was going to have them win games they shouldn't. He is a good motivating coach, usually in the first 2 seasons before the message checks out. But, so I think even if they can't get him over here for, another 3 seasons, that's basically when they'll be ready to compete again. So I thought it was a great move. And who knows, maybe Provorov can pull some strings. Really not much other news in the NHL other than the league next year will not be wearing any specialty jerseys, which I think is pretty weak. I understand, especially with some of the Russian Orthodox players, that it's just their religion to be anti-gay and not support the LGBTQ community. I hope I said that in the right order. But, just a bad look on paper for the league. The number 1 hashtag for the NHL is hockey is for everyone. So it's kind of a kick in the balls to gay and trans hockey fans that clearly hockey isn't for everyone, according to some. And so I think they still could have worn the pride jerseys. And if the players, the Russian Orthodox players or players who it's their religious beliefs to not support the gay community, just wear a regular warm-up jersey. I think that would have solved half, if not more, of the problem. So that's my hot take. If anything wacky happens tomorrow in free agency, I'll do an emergency stream. Until then, this has been Earl Skakel. It's going to be an exciting day tomorrow. A lot of shenanigans. So follow me everywhere at Earl Skakel. If you're in the LA community this weekend, I'll be at the Ice House tonight. Sunday night, the Comedy Store. Listen to me on the Comedy Store Wrestling podcast at all available podcast destinations. Do the Tony Miss scene before you sign off. Do the Tony Miss scene. Oh, Tony Moss scene. Okay, I'll do that. That's for you showgirls. Now, I might not be 100% accurate on the wording, but I am a big fan of the movie Showgirls. So many good actors in that movie. You know, Robert Davi, Alan Racine, who played the Tony Moss character. Now, I don't know if Alan is gay in real life, but he did play a great catty gay, I guess, showrunner. So this is the scene where he introduces himself to the girls auditioning for the chorus line. Now, since you asked for the scene, I'm going to ask you one thing. I need you to say action. Write it in chat. Action. And I'll start. Let's not have too much dead air. I need to see action in chat before I do the Tony Moss scene in Showgirls. Hello, ladies. I'm Tony Moss. I produce this show. Some of you may have heard I'm a prick. I am a prick. I don't care if you live or die. I got one interest, and that's the show. I want to see you dance, and I want to see you smile. I can't use you if you can't dance. I can't use you if you didn't smile. All right, line them up. Jesus, Marty, take a look at these tits. This is the stage, babe, not a patch. See ya. I've seen you before. Yes, Mr. Moss. You told me to get my nose fixed. Very nice. Very nice. Your ears are sticking out. Come back when you get them fixed. See ya. I bet you can't spell MGM backwards. MGM. Very nice. What classes have you taken? I've taken jazz classes. I've taken tap dances. I've taken ballet classes. I've taken acting classes. The show's called Goddess. It ain't called classes. See ya. All right. That's all I remember right now. Sorry, I was a little nervous trying to remember everything. So, Paula Abdul and my show. I've tried to get him on my podcast to talk about Showgirls. Greg Travis, who is the horny guy, trying to get them to watch Caesar sing and blow it out with the Asian businessman. No one from Showgirls wants to come on and talk about that. Robert Davi. Can you imagine the sales pitch Robert Davi got to be in Showgirls? Like, he was a serious, or is, or was, whatever, a serious actor. And you know his agent probably lied to him. Yeah, I got this great movie. It's written by the guy who wrote Basic Instinct. I mean, I was a little off and probably. I'd like to, do it over again, but I'm not feeling it right now. Caffeine hasn't kicked in. But shout out to Tony Moss. I actually met him at the Gay Whole Foods. If you're familiar with the Fairfax and Santa Monica area of Los Angeles, there's a Whole Foods there. Excuse me. That came out of nowhere. My bad. And I just walked right up to him as he's like picking out cucumbers. I'm like, you're Tony Moss. And he's like, no, my name's Alan. I'm like, no, you're Tony Moss. Showgirls, come on, dude. And then I started doing that scene, and he looked at me like, get the fuck out of here, bro. I'm 70, man. Leave me alone, Holmes. I've won Emmys before in LA Law. You think I want to talk about Showgirls? So that's all. But if you guys listening can, share this, retweet it, like it, whatever, anything helps. I don't ask you guys for money. Even when I get the required 4,000 hours, I will not turn my live stream into a Jerry Lewis telethon. So, but if you could support by liking and, sharing it, that helps the numbers. And it helps me get to 4,000 hours quicker. Someone told me a great scam to help me get to 4,000 hours. Now, I want to do it legit, but he said, well, you should just ask your fans to watch your YouTube, like some of the inappropriate roles that are like an hour. You should have them watch it overnight when they're sleeping. They don't have to listen to it. You just keep the volume down. And have them repeat it, so it just repeats over and over again. So if like 20 people did that, I could get, because I think I'm close to 2,000 hours now. So I still have a little ways to go. But even when I get there, I'm not going to shill you guys for money. Although, yes, my sales pitch to donate to super chats and whatnot is I've done comedy for 23 years now, basically for free. So it's time the daddy man gets back a little. The money, honey. So I love you guys. This has been Earl Skakel, YouTube Live. I'll give you guys a little show. We'll turn this into a Kiss concert. This is what happens when I'm going to film my special. Earl, 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 Earl. I really do love this song. All right, guys. Peace. Oh, thank you, Rebel. You guys are coming in late. Lois is chilling. No, you're telling me, bro. This is $492. Now, if you're in the LA area, take care. See you. There's a place on Melrose called Radical Neon. That's with a K. Radikal Neon. And they were amazing. I don't get a free sign or a discount. I think they're from Australia. So it's by the Improv, which is a club I don't get booked at. So, they were great. And, I showed the guy the rat logo and, oh, he's like, oh, that'll be easy. Because I thought it would be hard because it is a kind of a weird font. But 3 days later, he had it. So that's all. I appreciate all the love, Rebel. Sorry you came in late. If there's any last minute questions, I'll stay on for a minute. I don't think there are. I think we covered it all. Lois is, she's tired. I'm filming right now a documentary on why I don't have a stand-up special. We've probably got about 20, 25 hours. See you. Of usable footage for the documentary, and then on the back half of that, we'll release the documentary, and then we'll do a special. The location is to be undetermined at this moment, but I think we're not sure if we'll just make it a double album and just put it all out. So it'll be like a 3-hour special, which I'm sure most streaming services will be like, we don't think so, bro. But that's how I do things. I don't follow the norm. So be on the lookout for that. We'll probably film the special in a month or two. Take it from there. So I love you guys. Thank you for the support. I really mean that. All 7 of you.